Greetings and salutations, my people. This is Jason, and we're at From Heroes to Icons, where we cover comics, video games, and movies. But I seem to have neglected movies. And to everyone who is listening to this, I'm dedicating this podcast to Reggie Collects, because I always leave long comments in his videos. But it's his fault. In this hobby, we are very opinionated. That's a given. But I do consider myself a critic of sorts, a fan as well as a student of both art and writing. I see myself as being learned in this medium and as a fan. When it comes to movies, or should I say film, I am just as critical in my watching and judging as I am with comics. I'm 45 years old, and my parents, they were both born in the early 1930s. So the things that I watched, are a little bit more diverse and a little bit older than most of my peers. Well, then again, maybe not. Before I continue, there are some footnotes I'd like to consider concerning films. The source material, the director, the cast, the pacing, the score, and if there is any, the special effects. As for the audience, we need to have the one thing many viewers seem to lack, and that is SOD, or suspension of disbelief. Not all cool films are perfect, they're far from it, but they will entertain you, and that's just the truth. They will make you think. And something that also is seldom spoken of, great films make you feel something. And don't say that the movie, you hate it. I'm not talking about that. That's an opinion, not the emotion that actually conveys from the film. It's something that the film should invoke. If you just downright hate the film, it failed. Movies, or should I say film, should be more than just entertainment. It is the telling of a story, and that story should convey some feeling. Hope, love, sadness, something. And even if it's a part 1 or a part 2, the story should be complete. And I just want to run down a few things. A couple of films, in my opinion, that are good or even fantastic, as to have a comparison or a standard to hold comic films up to. And some would believe that we shouldn't do this, but a movie's a movie, or a film's a film. And if you think that a comic book film, should get best director, or best adaptation, or best actor, or whatever, then it should be held to the same standards as a standard film, right? All right. So, before we start to argue, you can't compare regular films to movies. You can. You know what I mean? I'm gonna try to give you a few things or whatever. I'll tell you this. You hear the stopping and starting and all of that. I'm reading half of this, so because I wanted to convey a little bit of understanding of what we're looking for when we watch television, movies, and these things pertaining to comic book films. And this is just an exaggerated list, I guess I call it. It's not a top 5, top 10, or anything like that. I was just as I was writing this, some things came to mind, and I'm a movie lover. So you just can't write down just a few. But if you want to talk about films, we didn't make this for the comic book fan and all of that garbage, but we made it for people that like movies. Some of these movies, many of us have seen or even heard of, Some of them you might love, some of you might hate. Just like comic books, we all have our own opinion. But I think our minds should be made open to clarify what we see on screen and what we see on a printed page. Sometimes it translates well, sometimes it doesn't. And we shouldn't use comic books to push any agenda or any social issues that people are really currently arguing about. And we ain't gonna even go into the black white thing and all of that, because don't get me started on that. But anyway, here's a list of films that I think quite diverse, and it gives you kind of the pick of the litter on where to look at superhero films or comic book related films as a whole to be held up to a certain standard. Going to win, the Akira Toriyama's Seven Samurai, the Terminator 2, The Far and Away, any of Clint Eastwood's westerns, Braveheart, Star Wars Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, The Imitation of Life, I believe that was the 1939 version or something like that, Into the Dragon, Bridesmaids, Juice, Dead Presidents, and Malcolm X. And that's just, a lot of those films there had actually been on like the Academy Award list for various different reasons. But I also got another short list that I kind of broke it up into genres. Excuse me. So first, I put drama, and I put Imitation of Life, any iteration. It's the same story, whether the black and white or colored version or the modern version, same thing. And The Color Purple. For love story, I don't really watch romance stories too much, but I think I would put The Far and Away. And I forgot the film that Eric Bana was in. I think it was The Time Traveler's Wife. Was also a great love story, if you want to put it that way. Westerns, I put Tombstone and Unforgiven. For action films, I put Assassins. That was with Antonio Banderas and Sylvester Stallone. Die Hard 3. And The 13th Warrior, also with Antonio Banderas. Hey, we like what we like, right? For sci-fi films, Empire Strikes Back and The Matrix 2. For war films, we could go all day with that. Full Metal Jacket, Platoon, and Dead Presidents. It was also a pretty dope war movie. For Kung Fu or fighting movies, I put Enter the Dragon. I'm gonna put my Chinese movies in there, and the original Ip Man film. For the Bond films, Casino Royale is my number one. And for spy flicks, The Bourne Identity. And I put this, and a lot of people are like, you didn't put any cartoons or whatever. Take your pick at Disney movies. And for anime, I put Spirited Away. So those movies are fantastic. And we all differ in our opinions on what we think about movies and such things. But as someone that has watched so many different movies, and like some stuff I've only watched because my parents watched it, or my sister wanted me to watch it, or my kids wanted me to watch it, or my wife wanted me to watch it, and it really opened you up to the different views and how people see and what entertains other people. But when it comes to comic books, we like to make excuses, and we like to set limits. And it's like, we really didn't have too many comic book films. And when the Tim Burton Batman film first came out, that was like the phenomenon. We love Michael Keaton. Yeah, he was short, but we knew Michael Keaton would do well. Well, us movie watchers, because he's an awesome actor. So it's just like, oh, his Bruce Wayne's going to be dope. and we took it for what it was worth. And we all know who watched Tim Burton films. Tim Burton is weird, so there was a little weird in there, but he really stuck to the formula a little bit, even though he killed the Joker. But he stuck, to the formula, which was cool. Then, you know, X-Men came out, and you were like, wow, okay, we never thought we would see Wolverine in the film. It was alright, we enjoyed it for the time that it came out. We took it for what it was worth. And then when X-Men 2 came out, it really set the bar higher for comic book films. That storytelling, special effects, cinematography, music, all that. Bryan Singer killed it. And when Sam Raimi came out with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, I'm going to tell you the truth. I was not pleased with Tobey Maguire when he was first announced. But I believe it was a Wizard magazine that had the first pictures, before everything was on the internet. The first pictures of Tobey Maguire after he had worked out, and it had him in a Spider-Man suit and had him looking in the mirror, flexing his muscles and stuff. I'm like, yo, this movie is going to be nuts. And I think we went to go see Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within. And I'm a Final Fantasy fan, but the only reason I went to go see that movie is because that was the only movie showing the teaser trailer for Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. And after I saw that trailer, I didn't want to see the Final Fantasy movie. I was ready to leave. And we know that trailer is very special because it had the helicopter caught in a web between the Twin Towers. And I actually own that reel for that trailer. But Spider-Man, even though it was campy, we loved it, and it set a new standard for comic book films. Flash forward a million movies, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and 23 movies later. The Justice League, Superman, Man of Steel, Wonder Woman, etc. And it seems like no one wants to look inside of a comic book, write a script, and create a film depicting what is inside the comic book. They want to do something different. If you want to do something different personally, make a regular film. A lot of people are talking about this Joker film and they're like, well, it's similar to Falling Down. But the Joker's story is not like Falling Down with Michael Douglas. It's not. It's different. And we all have our opinions. Two people might listen to this. But we really need to consider like the comic book speculation thing, buying new comic books, if you're reading comic books digitally or whatever, if you're buying the toys for your kids, the costumes for your kids for Halloween, and all of that. It seems to me like we're doing all of that for nothing if they make a movie that costs $50 to $250 million and it has nothing to do with the rest of the products that we're purchasing. That's stupid. Like, we have learned to just accept anything, and I refuse. I've watched too many good movies and read too many good books to just accept whatever somebody throws on a big screen or on television just because it's something that I like. That's dumb. We should hold comic book films to a better standard. And if it's a comic book movie, let it be a popcorn movie, let it be what it is, and everybody cheer and rave with the special effects and all of that, because it's fake. It's gonna be fake. It doesn't need to be real. And if it does, part of the story or whatever, and it touches you, that's just extra. But it's a comic book. Let it be a comic book. And I'm sitting here in my comic room surrounded by a million boxes, toys, posters, video games, and all of that. And it's just a shame that people have become so complacent, and then they want to make an excuse like, oh, well, it's different. Give it a chance. I don't have to give nothing a chance. I know what I like. I know what's real. I know what a good story is. You know what I'm saying? If you want to make American Psycho and call it the Joker, it's not the Joker. He might be a psycho, but he's not American Psycho. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to, like, set the bar here, draw a line in the sand. Because as long as we keep still just, oh, we'll take it, they're going to keep making trash. Some of these executives have never read a comic book. They don't know what the market is looking like. They don't know what people want. They're just like, listen, what's going to make money? Oh, okay. How much did that cost to make? Very effective. It cost $60 million to make the Joker, and it makes $200, $500 million. Yo, they made more than 10 times their money. They don't care what we want. It's a money game, which I understand. You got to make their bread. But also, you can make a dope film that comes somewhere. It doesn't have to be a direct adaptation, but have something familiar, something real that comes from the source material, and make a good film out of it. But that's all I got to say for now. But we shouldn't just sit back and be like, well, I want all these movies and stuff to succeed. I don't. Because trash is trash. If something is garbage and it's stinking, it goes out on garbage day. It goes into the dumpster. It goes into the trash bin. It should not be held up as something beautiful and wonderful. It should be like, this is garbage. Who will watch this? This is ridiculous. They expect me to just take this and spend my money on it? I don't know about you. I work hard for my money. And I'm I want to be entertained. I want to have some fun. You'd be like, oh, it needs to be real. But I got enough problems in my own life. I'm going to look at something fake. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of people just don't have the suspension of disbelief. So when they create something phenomenal, and they be like, oh, that's ridiculous. It's supposed to be ridiculous. I'm not supposed to feel for the Joker. Like, who really cares? Really. I'm not being uncompassionate or anything like that, but it's entertainment. And if there's certain characters that you do feel compassion for, empathy with, or whatever, and that's fine. But I'm a comic book dude. I'm a movie dude. I want to see a good movie. If the joke is good, just have him not paint his face. He can be a crazy, down on his luck dude that's getting his skirt pulled up or whatever and has pretty much had enough, and then he goes off. You could have called it anything. Why you got to paint his face and make himself look like the Joker from DC Comics? You know what I'm saying? We have to check and weigh things and not just accept anything because we want to accept it. We want to be like, oh yeah, they made another comic book movie, and no. You have to consider like what's good. Well, I mean, what's really good? Because there's a lot of trash comic books out there, and people are like, oh, well, I'm cutting my pull list because that book sucks. Why not do the same when it comes to film? Because they come out, a year, 2 years apart. We really need to consider like what we really think is good. And I'm not just talking about your opinion. I'm talking about, you've been reading Batman comics for 35 years, and then they come out with something that's hot garbage, and you be like, oh, well, the movie was great. He wasn't necessarily Batman, but oh, the movie was. Come on now. You compare The Dark Knight to The Dark Knight Rising. It's like night and day. He wasn't even Batman, but for 5 minutes of the movie, that movie sucked. If it wasn't for Bane, you know what I mean? He was like Jason Bourne without a Batman outfit on. That could have been another Jason Bourne film. It was ridiculous. But The Dark Knight had all these different elements with Batman, the joke. It was fire. That movie was worthy to be put in like the Cryoton collection. It was dope. Fantastic. Had everything. Just like Captain America Winter Soldier. A phenomenal movie. Besides being a comic book film. A phenomenal movie. It was great. And I'm just saying that we just really need to evaluate what we think and what we're looking at. And just movies as a whole. And if I would call this anything, it would be the art of storytelling in comics and film. Well, I hope you have listened this far to me rant, because I might be ranting again. Until next time, people, I will catch you at the same bad time and at the same bad channel. Peace.